This video will provide an overview of the dissertation process in the EDD and Organizational Leadership program at Stockton University. You are just one course away from completing your leadership development coursework, but by no means are finished developing as a leader in this program. The dissertation journey offers a number of additional opportunities to continue to build and hone your leadership prowess and capabilities. During this dissertation development process, you will analyze a problem within an organizational or societal context, identify and articulate a problem and substantiate that the problem actually exists, develop and communicate the purpose and significance of your study, recognize various information from contrasting sources, interweave, integrate, and synthesize information to address the problem and defined research questions, determine the most effective method of collecting data, develop surveys and/or interview questions, and finally analyze data statistically or through coding and theming. Additionally, you will engage in understanding the implications and meaning of your findings, comparing and contrasting those data with the literature to discover and devise problem solutions, converting data implications into solutions and recommendations for future action, identifying limitations, delimitations, and challenges to the research process, and identifying your own biases during the research process. Throughout the whole process, you will develop and maintain the ability to convert your thinking, into writing and expression, set a course towards a direction and plan how you will get there, and advance towards the completion of those goals. You will also develop in the following areas: resilience, critical thinking skills, locus of control, organization and time management skills, and presentation skills. Finally, you will develop the ability to support, defend, and advocate for your research arguments. The dissertation process in this program is roughly an 18-month endeavor. Let's review the timeline for your cohort. The LEAD program places high value on applied leadership growth and development. Development of competency artifacts are used for learners to indicate or display their leadership growth throughout the program. In the spring of your first year of study, you were or will be assigned 20 competency artifacts to complete. All 20 are due before you can be scheduled to defend your dissertation. 5 during your first summer term, 5 during your second fall semester, 5 during your second spring semester, and 5 during your second summer term. All competency artifacts must be submitted to your preceptor, your advisor, using the schedule indicated, though you may submit competencies earlier than scheduled. During your second fall semester, you will take your first research course and your only research methods course, LEAD 6100 Quantitative and Qualitative Methods. During your second spring semester, you will take your second research course, LEAD 6500 Research Design Seminar, where you will, among other things, write a draft of Chapter 1, select a theoretical framework for the study, and outline your conceptual framework. During your second summer term, you will be assigned a dissertation or DIP chair and take the LEAD 6800 DIP Proposal Development Part 1 course, in which you will update Chapter 1 and write a draft of Chapter 2. The rest of your dissertation courses will be with your assigned dissertation chair. During your third fall semester, you will continue to work on your DIP proposal and take LEAD 6801, the DIP Proposal Development 2, where you will, among other things, complete city training, update Chapter 1, update Chapter 2, and develop Chapter 3, which designs your data collection process. Note that you will also take your last leadership-related course during subterm A of that semester. This will be the only time throughout the program where you take two courses simultaneously, but LEAD 6061 only lasts through subterm A of the semester. For each of the remaining 3 semesters, you will take a 6-credit course during which you will continue to develop your dissertation and conduct your study. During your third spring semester, you will take LEAD 7100, which is DIP 1, where, among other things, a dissertation committee member can be selected if desired. This is an agreement between you and your chair. You will update Chapters 1, 2, and 3 to complete your proposal. Your DIP will be sent through LEAD program review, where all DIP chairs will have a chance to review your dissertation and give feedback. Once you pass program review, you will submit your application to IRB, receive IRB approval, and conduct or administer your study, meaning collect your data. During your final summer term, you will take LEAD 7101, which is DIP 2, where you will, among other things, complete data collection, perform data analysis, and write a draft of Chapter 4. Remember that your dissertation is evergreen until you successfully defend, meaning you should always be considering and making updates to Chapters 1, 2, and 3 accordingly. During your final fall term, you will take LEAD 7102, which is DIP 3, where you will, among other things, update Chapter 4, develop Chapter 5, update all 5 chapters, develop your defense PowerPoint, and finally defend your dissertation. Your final spring term, you still have time to finish up and defend your dissertation if you need more time. The graduation ceremony is typically held in May. Let's discuss details of the dissertation in practice, the DIP process. A dissertation in practice, or DIP, is a scholarly endeavor that impacts an authentic, complex problem of practice. It is action research designed to be conducted within an organization or outside an organization with a resulting direct impact on organizational leadership practice. It is the culminating or capstone experience of the Stockton University EDD in Organizational Leadership program. An action research process is a systematic research-based organizational action. It involves deep inquiry into professional practice and the benefit of that practice to the organization and organizational leaders. The purpose of research is to make a positive difference by providing practice-based recommendations for an organizational setting of a particular organizational type, or one in which you, the candidate researcher, are currently serving. Research also allows the investigation and justification of a problem, issue, or concern, as well as implementation of an action. Research stresses research literacy, a set of skills and knowledge that leaders need to understand and use in making practice and policy decisions. Throughout the EDD program, you will focus on issues of research literacy, methods of systematic inquiry, and the identification and analysis of data and information with the primary goal of building the skills leaders need for an effective decision making. To base action upon research, leaders must be able to judge the quality, applicability, and limitations of the research. A completed dissertation has 5 chapters. For Stockton's LEAD program, Chapter 1 gives an overview of the study, including introduction, problem of practice, organizational context, theoretical framework, conceptual framework, purpose of the study, significance of the study, research questions, definition of terms, limitations, delimitations, and assumptions, and a chapter summary. In LEAD 6500, you'll learn more about crafting your Chapter 1. In Chapter 2, a review of the literature concerning the topics and subtopics of the study is provided. Chapter 3 includes a design of the method for conducting your study. In Chapter 4, findings are reported from data collection. And in Chapter 5, a summary of findings, implications of findings, and recommendations for practice and future research are offered. A problem of practice is a persistent, contextualized, and specific issue embedded in the work of a professional practitioner, where examination and addressment have the potential to result in improved understanding, experience, and outcomes. The ultimate goal of a statement of the problem is to transform a generalized problem, something that is maladaptive to your organization, a perceived lack, into a targeted, well-defined problem, one that can be resolved through focused research and careful decision making, including what is the ideal state of the situation, what is the reality, what is actually happening, and what are the consequences, and how can the situation be improved. You must substantiate that a problem actually exists using scholarly peer-reviewed literature and reports, statistics, and other information from sources like websites, reports, newspapers, magazines, books, and so on. To substantiate that the problem you are studying exists, address the questions listed on this slide using scholarly peer-reviewed sources. In the LEAD 6100 Methods class, you identified a problem. To develop the problem of practice further, answer the following questions. How might you substantiate that the problem actually exists? For example, if my study was about using guided critical reflection to support student learning, I might briefly address the questions of what are the outcomes of the use of guided critical reflection? When is guided critical reflection best used? What are the barriers to using guided critical reflection? What role does guided critical reflection play in learning? How is guided critical reflection used to support learning? What are some of the best practices in using guided critical reflection to support critical reflection and learning? Questions like these would be addressed in the problem of practice using scholarly, peer-reviewed work, reports, and statistics from sources like websites, reports, newspapers, magazines, and books. Next, consider the organizational context, which involves where your study would take place. This could be within an organization, which is described as a case, or within general society. After that, who might be the participants of the study and provide uh, perspectives on the problem or issue? In other words, how will you collect data to address your research questions? Another question, what might be a theoretical framework or model that grounds your study or the foundation for exploration of the topic? What concepts make up the conceptual framework of your study? These often equate to keywords you will use to search library databases. And finally, what might the research questions of your study explore? These are some of the components that go into crafting Chapter 1 of your study. A literature review is an examination of the literature on topics and subtopics. You must identify a theoretical framework and discuss how it relates to and underpins your study. The topics you cover in your literature review relate to your research questions. A conceptual framework will include the topics and subtopics of your literature review. For each topic, interweave and synthesize the recent literature, scholarly peer-reviewed articles that explore or study that topic. Review literature no older than 5 to 7 years, except in the case of seminal work. In this excerpt of a literature review of a dissertation, each paragraph discusses a topic or subtopic. Notice that in each paragraph and for each topic, information is provided from several sources identified by the bolded citation to formulate a robust paragraph and information on that topic. The literature review tells a story from various sources, a narrative of the literature for a topic. From the time you started the program in Lead 6010, you have been asked to follow all APA guidelines in your writing. The best source to help you do this is the publication manual of the American Psychological Association, 7th edition. Throughout the dissertation process, you should ensure that you follow all APA 7th edition guidelines. It is suggested that you understand the guidelines and make edits as you write so that you won't have to pay the costly price of an APA editor at the end of the process. Hopefully, you've purchased the publication manual of the American Psychological Association 7th edition. However, this slide does list several free online APA resources. This is just a brief overview of citing work. Note that citations could have 2 to 3 arguments: author's last name, year, and page number if the sentence is a direct quotation placed between 2 double quotation marks. If the sentence is not a direct quotation, only the author and year are provided. When the citation is within parentheses and 2 authors are provided, the ampersand is used. Outside of the parentheses, the word "and" is used. When a block of text longer than 40 characters are provided, the block is indented. For sentences with multiple sources, the authors are placed in alphabetical order. There are numerous other citation guidelines. Refer to your APA guide as you write. Another example of APA guidelines is the section heading formatting, as you can see specified here. Your chapter headings will be the first level. Subheadings within each chapter will be second, third, fourth, and fifth levels. The EDD dissertation template provided to you will help you follow these guidelines. Let's discuss a bit about the all-important topic of plagiarism in writing. While writing your dissertation, you must ensure that you avoid plagiarizing other authors' work. All dissertations will be processed through the Turnitin system at some point during the dissertation process. Plagiarism involves passing someone's work off as your own, taking their wording or ideas without giving them credit using citations and referencing. Grammarly describes 7 common dimensions of plagiarism at the link shown on the screen. Pause the video and click the link to take a look. Now, how familiar are you with the concept of plagiarism? To find out, pause the video again and click the link to complete the plagiarism tutorial offered by the University of Southern Mississippi. Let's discuss use of generative AI tools for development of your dissertation. All uses of generative AI tools must be cited or acknowledged in the dissertation. Note that there is citation of a GAI tool. This is required when statements that you quote or paraphrase are taken directly from the use of a prompt that you provided in a GAI tool. There's also acknowledgement of a GAI tool use. This is required for use of GAI tools that foundationally operate using GAI. Undermine, Atlas TI, Copilot, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity are examples of these tools. Note the citation formatting here for use of GAI for a specific statement that you quote or paraphrase from ChatGPT, for example. Note here acknowledgement of the use of generative AI tools. A statement such as this would be placed in some section of the dissertation. To acknowledge your use of a generative AI tool, a GAI log must be placed in an appendix of your DIP document and referenced in a statement as shown on the slide. If you use a GAI tool for editing your dissertation, you should acknowledge that and list it in the GAI log. The GAI log added as an appendix in your DIP document should indicate for each GAI tool used the date of use, the GAI tool used, the URL of the tool used, the version of the tool used, the prompt used, the dissertation sections for which the tool or query was used, and the APA reference for the query. Note carefully the example on the slide. Now that you've viewed this video, let's evaluate a dissertation. Note that the dissertation is not one that was developed and defended by a student in our program. Using the dissertation provided to you, address the questions listed on the slide. We will engage in group discussion in our next class. I hope this video has helped clarify some of the questions you have about the dissertation process in the EDD and Organizational Leadership program at Stockton University. Thank you so much.